Welcome to the Old Dawg's REI Network, where cash flow is king. Real estate investing, the means, so you can enjoy your retirement dreams. This is the show where we cut right to the chase. No sales pitch, no long monologues, just simple how-to real estate investing advice, so you can earn the passive income you need to enjoy your retirement today. And now, your host and chief old dog, Bill Manassero.
Old dogs, and welcome to
Fun Facts Friday.
This is our once a week, only on Friday show, where we have special episodes not featuring guests, where I will share tricks, tips, terminology, and techniques that will help skyrocket you to real estate investing success. Today's podcast is a final farewell. Well, this is it, guys. This is going to be a very difficult show for me. I have truly grown to love the folks who listen to and communicate with me via this show. I have met so many amazing people. I've met a lot of you guys, done business with some, and even had some of you as guests. It has been a great adventure these past 6 years hosting the Old Dawg's REI Network podcast. I mean, it's been an honor, and I have just been very humbled to be able to even do this, let alone have anybody even listen to it. So anyway, this show will remain one of my most amazing experiences of my life. It has been just awesome. And just so you know, too, we will be keeping the Old Dawg website active. There you'll be able to reference nearly 700 podcasts and 300 plus articles. There's a ton of great content on there. And I don't say that just because it's my show, but I mean, I've had amazing guests, and there's so much stuff in there that you can learn pretty much anything about real estate investing. And just, go there, do a search, in the little hourglass or the magnifying glass, type in your content topic, whatever it may be, and I'm sure you're going to find something. If it's real estate investing, you're going to get, hopefully a lot of good stuff. But and I might add to, who knows, it's not always a final farewell. There may be even a few things we're going to add along the way, an article here or there, or maybe a show that we just had to put together. You never know. So, stay on our mailing list, and I'm not saying that because, I'm totally anti-spam. So I'm not going to spam you, but I'll let you know if something comes up on this show and that may be new. Who knows? So just hopefully we can stay in touch that way. But before I sign off, I just have a few things I'd like to share, if you will be so kind. First of all, I just want to thank all of you. I've mentioned that, who've listened to this podcast, and even those that are listening now that have been listening from the beginning. Wow. I don't know, this show wouldn't exist without you guys. And I'm so honored and privileged to be able to do this. You have been awesome, and I can never thank you enough. I also want to thank, my dear friend and mentor, Joe Fairless, who was the one who urged me to do this show in the first place. And even though kicking and screaming over 6 years ago, I went and started doing these podcasts, and I've been so thankful I went through with it, and it has been a true blessing. And I also want to thank someone for which there would be no Old Dawg's REI Network podcast, and that's my producer, Tim Edmondson. Now, Tim, you may not know, but he is an audio genius. I'm not just saying that. Okay, he's master engineered songs from some of the biggest music legends of all time. I mean, people like Roy Orbison and I go on and on, Willie Nelson and so forth. He also happens to be my brother-in-law and a great friend, a BFF, former bandmate, in the world famous, and I have little quotes there, Mr. Bill Band. He is an amazing drummer, and he not only played in our band, but he also played with a band called Dramarama in the 80s. So, Tim is a talented guy, knows sound, and he dealt with the weekly challenges of cleaning up my technical disasters, making episodes that sound terrible sound extremely professional, removing my endless and likes, so forths, Darth Vader breathing episodes and bad jokes, just to name a few. So believe me, if you've ever heard the raw version of so many of these shows, you wouldn't believe it compared to what it comes out as. And so, Tim, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are a true audio artist who paints a canvas of this podcast twice a week and has been doing so since May of 2016, the very first episode. So I can never thank you enough, brother. Thank you. And finally, I don't know if I mentioned it or not on the show, but I was thinking of writing a book to share my story. And I really debated back and forth, getting the whole revelation about real estate while I was living in Port-au-Prince and up to, what a misnomer, but multifamily millionaire. It sounds really weird and strange, but the more I thought about it, the more I saw it to be a very short book. Because if I truly shared my secret to success, how I started with almost nothing to become financially set for life, a lot of people wouldn't believe it or maybe don't want to hear it. But it actually started in 1988 when I was an overambitious entrepreneur. I was devoted to becoming a millionaire before the age of 30. All I cared about was making money and making myself happy, driving fast cars, living a fast lifestyle, dating beautiful women, thinking I was invincible, but not realizing I was far from it. I also took a lot of chances back then, and I was young, didn't really know a lot, did a lot of dumb things, was very greedy, and one day it all caught up with me, and my house of cards came crashing down almost overnight. I went from young business, whatever wannabe, to being subpoenaed by the SEC and 2 steps away from serving time in prison. It was one of the worst times of my life. I had got myself into a lot of trouble, and it looked like I had no way out. I was a mess. I was at my lowest point ever and really didn't even want to live. But thankfully, when you're down far enough, sometimes the only way to look is up. And that's what I did. I prayed. I was in my office at 3 a.m. in the morning, which is a common occurrence at that time. And I prayed to a God I didn't really know and wasn't even sure existed. My prayer, though, was simple. Take my life any way you want. Car accident, getting robbed and shot, anything. But hopefully something quick. And if you don't take my life, even if you exist or don't exist, then I will. And that was my prayer. And in the days that followed that, a series of supernatural events happened. And I don't use that word easily. But I found myself at the Palos Verdes Country Club, it's California, looking for my chiropractor friend who invited me to a meeting of big wig Southern California businessmen, one of which was possibly interested in helping me, even though I thought I was too far gone. There's nothing. I looked at all angles and I didn't see how I was going to get out of this thing. This guy was a high-tech, high-ticket CEO coach who worked with software companies, CEOs, and an emerging group of startup entrepreneurs who were creating this network online business thing called the internet. Anyway, he invited me to breakfast where he very quickly pried out of this egotistical, too proud to admit I was a failure guy, how I totally managed to make a total disaster of my life. And believe it or not, I walked away from the meeting with a glimmer of hope that there might have been a rare possibility that I might not go to jail. Anyway, he wanted to meet me again next week for breakfast. I was nervous, however, because I knew this guy was not cheap, and his hourly rate was more than I had left in my checking account at that time. However, he agreed to meet with me, not just once, but every week at the same time for breakfast. I was thrilled. He was going to help me with my business problem, and he was going to do it for free. But there was one hook there, and he said, in addition to helping me on my business, I also had to agree to do a little Bible study with him at the same time. And I thought, oh no, what was I getting myself into? I wasn't real thrilled about the Bible study, but I was just desperate enough to agree to anything. So we started meeting, and 3/4 of our time was spent talking business and actually resolving some of these major business hurdles that I didn't think were possible to fix. And, we'd spend probably 3/4 of the time talking business, 1/4 on the Bible study. So, I was cool with that. However, as much as I tried to cheat and skip my way through the Bible study, I couldn't avoid the homework part of my assignment, and that was actually to read the Bible and answer some of the very tough questions that were in this little booklet that went along with it. So I never read the Bible before, and surprisingly, I became a little caught up in it, and I was learning a lot of interesting things that I didn't know existed in there. And I was always very skeptical. I was meeting with him, so I continued to do it. But as I continued meeting with him, a weird shift was occurring, and I ended up wanting to spend more time talking about the Bible and less about my business problems. I learned about a God who loved me so much that he sent his only son to die for my sins. And I know we've heard that all, and I'm sure we've all seen the sports signs, John 3:16. Well, now I actually understood what it meant, and not just for everyone, but specifically for me and my dilemma. And one night I was again in my office. It's 3 a.m., and I decided to pray. But this time my prayer was different. I prayed, "Dear God, when I prayed to you last time, I asked you to take my life. Kill me any way you wanted to. But I never dreamed my request for you to take my life would be like this. And now I'm asking you, take my life, but not to kill me, but to give me a new life, a life I want to live for you. I don't care anymore if I end up in jail. I just want to live my life for you. And no matter what the situation or where I am, including jail, I will serve you joyfully no matter what." And that's what happened 30 years ago. And over the years, I know this may seem hard to believe, but I saw miracle after miracle. The first one started with me. I had some serious addictions and some big problems in my life. One small part of that was my business. But he delivered me from all of those things. I no longer was addicted. I no longer had these business problems. I met my wife within just months of saying that prayer. Now I have 7 beautiful children. I continued in business for a number of years, but my heart was drawn more and more to full-time ministry. I just wanted other people to know what I knew. I knew so many people that were miserable like me, and I just wanted to share it. And it started really with the children's music ministry, reaching out to kids, because I loved kids. I was having kids, and we started writing children's songs, and ended up producing 3 albums and traveling the world with concerts and church events and so forth with our band. And then later on, we were being drawn to Haiti, and we had a heart for the street children there that were in the hundreds of thousands. And so we gave up everything we had and went to Haiti to serve as missionaries. And again, in Haiti, the miracles continued. I saw kids' lives transformed, saved from trafficking, families transformed, people delivered from all kinds of things. And then we were there during the earthquake, where our orphanage was overnight transformed into a triage unit. All of the hospitals had were down, and there was nowhere for people to go with injuries. Some people, we had a little clinic in our orphanage there, and people knew about it, but we would pass out malaria pills or worm pills. We were, fix cuts and bruises and stuff. We weren't a full-on hospital by any means, but we ended up converting our orphanage into a triage unit. And as all the reporters started coming in, and all these people that wanted to see what was going on with the earthquake, there was, some, non-religious reporters that were asking a lot of questions, and they saw our triage, and they wanted to know, what was going on there. 500 people went through our triage before all the other, international assistants arrived and so forth. We had 6 days there where there was nothing. And we were the only deal in town, at least in our area. They were a little bit dumbfounded. Some of the reporters would ask us, how is this happening? All of a sudden, doctors are showing up, medical supplies, all these things in this little tiny, orphanage that was just working with street kids. And some of the reporters even quit asking us how these things were happening. They would say, never mind, I'm not even going to ask you now. Don't tell me. I know it was God. And it was. And it is. One of those reporters was a woman named Soledad O'Brien with CNN, and she ended up doing a 1-hour documentary on her experience called Rescued, and writing about the experience in her book years later. And Oprah Winfrey even came to interview and feature our family on the show. But we tried to make it really clear it was never about us. It was always about Him. God is real, and He's still working miracles every day. And after 12 amazing years in Haiti, getting older and realizing it was time to retire, even though we had no money, having lived on faith for all those years, that same God that saved me 30 years ago and showed us miracle after miracle in our lives led me to this crazy real estate investing thing, where He continued to bless and provide not only what we need now, but enough to take care of us for the rest of our lives. And that's why I didn't end up writing a book. I don't want to share what I did because it wasn't me. And that's not false modesty. That's the reality. We serve a God who is faithful and real. He is the reason we succeeded. He directed our path every inch of the way and blessed us in more ways than I can ever express in the short time of this podcast. Now, I know there are many listening to this from all different backgrounds and beliefs, and some may have dropped off as I started to talk about God. But I really want to thank those of you that stayed on to listen. For me, it would be remiss if in my final podcast I didn't share the real story of my success and my journey. And it really is all about the amazing God who loves us all and just wants to know us and walk with us and love on us. He did so much of that and continues to do so much of it. So I thank you for listening, and I thank you very, very much for being a part of our family here at the Old Dogs REI Network. I appreciate all of you so very much, and I'm sincerely going to miss you. And thank you. I guess for the final time, I'll just say, keep moving forward, and may God bless.